Our board meeting. Do I have a motion to approve the agenda? Mr. Hogan?
I'd like to make a motion to approve the agenda.
Do I have a second?
Second.
Ms. Snipes, second. Any discussion? Ms. Huddle?
I have a question about D, the legal advice on the board policies. Will the board's attorney be in executive session for that?
The board's attorney told me that Dr. Ross, that he did not need to be here today. So I'm not sure. This was put on the agenda by the administration.
We will have legal representation.
Okay. I mean, I asked because the board policy on legal services appears to indicate that board policy ought to be with general counsel. So that's why I ask.
So you will have legal representation
Okay.
for this policy.
Okay. The other, it's not a question, but I'd like to make a motion regarding,
We have a motion.
I'm
right
sorry,
now.
I'd like to amend the motion to remove item 16, change order approval for Irmo High School East Wing, since this is an action item and information was not included in the public board packet.
Do I have a second? All right.
I'll second for discussion.
All right.
Yeah, so we got an email, I didn't know it wasn't in the board packet, but we got an email at 4:30 from a constituent that said it wasn't in the board packet, and I went and looked, and it wasn't in there. And normally, anything that's, for transparency reasons, normally anything that's on the action agenda, of course, if it's legal type stuff, it can't be in the board packet, but otherwise, it would be in the board packet because that's why public speaking is even before the action agenda, so that public can speak on something. So for that, since it wasn't in the board packet, I think we should remove it from the agenda.
Any other discussion?
The purpose on this for action, obviously we're going to discuss it when it gets to that point if it's still on the agenda, but purposes for the district needing action on this tonight, is it something we can discuss now to make the determination of removing it or not, or?
No, I think that's for talking about it during action. What I can say about this being added to the agenda, this was added to the agenda late. It was brought to me by Dr. Ross. I think that there was a last-minute situation that arose, and the administration was gathering information. I don't know why it wasn't put on the agenda over the weekend, other than the fact that it was over the weekend, and we're at Monday now. But I believe that it's going to be fully discussed with our attorney on that situation and parties to that, to us tonight. So,
That's correct.
You can make them.
So question about that, you said discuss with our attorneys, but it's not
It's not for legal.
executive session.
Right. I saw your question about that. That was the very first thing I asked Dr. Ross.
Can I speak to the matter?
And yes.
So there are times when change orders can be planned, and there are times when we are responding to realities that exist. Right now, we have a situation that came to us late. We don't plan these items. We'd like to discuss that with it. You have a policy that stops construction, stops the process if the change order is over $50,000. We are asking the board to proceed with our motion on this construction process. I would love to say that we can totally plan everything that happens in the construction process. We cannot. So this is in response. If there are items that we are not reacting to but planning to, I think it's adequate to have discussion and to have and to come back for action. I will say, in defense of the administration, we got this information to you this weekend. We are in preparations for this meeting on Monday. This thing will be posted first thing in the morning, but we will make a public presentation of everything that was presented to you this weekend. But our goal is to make sure that we can move progress on that construction process.
All right.
So I still didn't get an answer. So I
So
heard you say we were.
So I asked whether or not it was appropriate to put this on the agenda for the executive session portion of our meeting. And it is my understanding that this is about the change order policy, which is why Mr. Reiser's here to kind of talk about that contractual stuff, and that it is not an executive session issue, and that the administration wants to ensure that the public is aware of the entire conversation so that it doesn't happen in an executive session, because it's not like a liability question. And that's what I was told, because I mean, if it was a legal issue, and Mr. Reiser is here and can tell us if he believes it should be an executive session or not, if it was, I have no problem amending the agenda to put it in an executive session. But it's not, and I do agree that it should be, I mean, anything that we talk about, we're already getting questioned about even having it on the agenda. I want the public to know the whole conversation. I mean, that's my...
I guess my question is, are we going to get legal advice?
No, from what I understand,
We are not going to get
no.
legal advice on this.
No.
Okay, I have legal questions. So am I to raise those legal questions in public?
So the questions that you have been, they were emailed and they were sent to Mr. Reiser. So Mr. Reiser, I'm asking you, do you think that this should be put in an executive session or not?
Board Chair, trustees, Caleb Reiser. I don't have any problems answering the questions that were posed to me this weekend or this morning regarding what is before the board regarding the change orders and the process to evaluate that, and the due diligence that the construction personnel and district personnel took leading up to the process. So there's no particular need for that to be on the executive agenda.
All right. And, Mr. Scully, I saw you had a question.
Yeah, just real quick, there's no FOIA issue, compliance issue with having it on the agenda?
No.
No, sir.
All right.
All right.
I'd like to clarify. So I expressly have liability questions, and you are okay with me asking those questions in public?
I don't have a problem answering the questions that you posed in a public session.
Okay. Well, I didn't ask all of them. I mean, I asked kind of high level. I gave a summary of my concerns. Below the email I sent, I have sub-concerns that all relate back to them, and one of them is liability. So I just want to make sure, because I'm going to ask my questions.
You can ask them, and then I can make a determination of whether or not I'm going to answer.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
All right. Any other questions before we call for the vote on the amended motion?
Can it not be amended to add this to executive session as well, instead of removing 16 altogether, to give Ms. Huddle an opportunity to ask her questions?
Yeah, I mean, he said he'll answer it. If he feels like he can't answer it, then
I'll let you know.
he'll let us know and we can address it at that point.
Okay.
All right. I'm going to call for a motion on Ms. Huddle's amended. Okay, I'm sorry, chemo brain. I'm going to call for a vote on the amended motion from Ms. Huddle. All in favor of Ms. Huddle's vote? Did I say that right? All opposed to Ms. Huddle's vote? Okay, I'm going to go back to the original motion on the floor, the motion to approve the agenda. All in favor of the motion to approve the agenda? That motion carries 7-0. Do I have a motion to enter executive session?
Make the motion to enter executive session, consider the following: A, selected employment items, Exhibit A for action; B, selected employment items, Exhibit B, information only; C, contractual matter regarding project management services, Exhibit C; and D, legal advice regarding board policy KF, community use of school facilities, and administrative rule KF-R, community use of school facilities, Exhibit D.
Do I have a second? Mr. Scully, any discussion? Seeing none, I'll call for the vote. All in favor? That motion carries 7-0. We'll adjourn for executive session and return at 7 p.m.